We just watched the finale of Obi-Wan Season 1. I'm so excited, Chris, to talk to you about this.
Yay.
I was very harsh in that last episode. Not anything to do with the Obi-Wan and Vader stuff. Everything to do with the other stuff. In this episode, it's hard to look at anything else besides the Obi-Wan Vader fight.
Yeah, man.
Like, we talk about payoff. We talked about this whole thing with Vader and Obi-Wan, this building and tension of relationship, and then to see what we saw. First of all, I think this is the best Jedi fight I've ever seen, period, in the entirety of all of Star Wars.
It was nuts.
The fact that like they're throwing objects so clean, and the way they're fighting, just they throw a rock and sweep their feet and like break their ankles.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Chris! I watched that fight scene like 3 times. It was
insane.
so good.
Yeah,
so
it was
good. I take back everything bad I've ever said about the series. This was worth everything and more.
Yeah, man, and that's some of the reason, guys, why I'm always like, we gotta wait to see how it ends. We gotta wait and see the whole thing. Obviously, Rob, myself, especially for Star Wars, we're very emotionally invested. We're very passionate about not just the content, but we want it to be good, right? We want everything. We want everything to be great. We want to watch things and love it the way we feel when we watch like The Boys or other shows that we love, and this is no different than that. And I think this episode again had a ton of stuff I absolutely loved. I did cry a couple times, Rob. I'm gonna admit it. Some of the nostalgic stuff, like
when did you cry?
I like Vader and Obi-Wan fighting, seeing Obi-Wan back to himself when he had the pose.
Oh, that was good. Yeah,
that got me 100%. I was like clutching pearls.
I was clutching pearls and got emotional when like the Anakin was talking and the Vader, and they were switching between the two.
Oh my God, that was
such
great.
a small detail they did so well. Like he's talking as Anakin, and then Vader's like, "I killed him," and because like the voice box got damaged because Obi-Wan destroyed Vader. Oh my God,
he became an Earthbender. He became Toph Bayfog.
It was so good.
It was nuts. So like that was amazing. That also got me teared up. My favorite episode of Rebels, Rob, which I mentioned a couple times. There's an episode where Ahsoka has to like basically save Ezra Bridger from this Sith temple for this holocron, and Vader shows up and she fights Vader for the first time, not knowing it's Anakin. And she also damages his helmet, which I don't know if this was an Easter egg, guys, but Ahsoka damaged the right side, I believe, of his helmet.
Okay.
Vader and Obi-Wan damaged the left, but Luke gets the whole thing off later on. So I don't know if that was something there, but that's something that caught my eye.
And then Ben Solo destroys the helmet entirely. I see it.
And the series.
1, 2, helmet, and now it's all gone. Now no more Vader. It's the whole thing.
But so that scene where Ahsoka damages it, and we had that Anakin and Vader talking meld. Same with this, but this time Hayden in the suit really brought a lot out of me. And obviously we get to see, the earthbending stuff too, with all the rocks.
When he got buried, it was like, in my mind, it was a shonen anime. I'm like, all right, he's going to come out. He's going to go Super Saiyan. This is Goku. I was like, all right. It was in my mind, I was like, that was going to happen, or we're going to see him in there struggle, and we're going to see.
Or he's going to be Yamcha.
No, not Yamcha. He was no way he'd be Yamcha. Or he's going to like, all right, I need to get out of here. I have to focus. Like, and just like struggle out, which he did.
Or like sneak away, or so, like was where they were gonna leave it almost.
Oh, I would have been so mad.
He was gonna sneak away, and I was like, "There's no way this is ending the way this is gonna like right now, right?" Like, and just that kind of surprise.
It could have, and I would have been okay with it because of everything else. The rest of the episode had to nail it though. It was like for me, if he snuck away, and then like, all right, we maybe they have another battle down the line. There's more show. Or like the rest of the episode is really good. I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. But this episode was all about this, so like, thank God they didn't do that. Seeing all that inner turmoil with Vader and Anakin, and then seeing Leia and like realizing the hope that she brings and that giving him the energy to come out was so good. Seeing Obi-Wan, like you said, Ultimate Earth Vader, all the rocks.
That's great.
It was so good because Vader like was fighting it, but like he was taking that back. I want them to fight again. I want a season 2. I want a Vader show.
Insane.
I want like another trilogy of movies of this Obi-Wan versus Vader throughout this all of time, and then it ends when he's an old man. He's like, I can't do this anymore. Luke, it is your time. Like, I just want more of this back and forth dynamic because I feel like this whole area of Star Wars is the missing piece, right? We saw the original trilogy, which when I watched it at first I wasn't fond of, but like I was a young kid.
You were older. And it wasn't like the young kid that sees it.
And now I'm like, okay, like I enjoy it because the importance. The original trilogy, yes, it's very goofy, but I really like the Anakin stuff and like really good. And now I'm like, okay, how do we get from here to here? show me this era of Vader, because we didn't really get an era of Vader ever. We got like the end of Vader, and everybody's afraid of him, and then we got the beginning of Vader. I was like, this is a perfect time. Another TV series, more of that kind of stuff. Fill in this gap. Show me why everybody's afraid of Vader. So when I watch him in Return of the Sith, New Hope, or
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
When I watch any of those, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Vader. Because right now I'm like, But like, I think he's gonna get even stronger. It's gonna get crazier. I think a new series is coming out. I can't wait. I'm just so excited.
We'll see. I mean, I will say.
Don't say we'll see. Don't burst my bubble.
Well, here's part of the magic of Star Wars, right? Okay. There's a lot of interpretation. That middle ground you're talking about, right? That we've been talking about forever between episodes 3 and 4. That was filled in with the legend stuff, right? Back when there was no official canon and we had all these books and the video games and the comics, all that stuff filled in those gaps. And a lot of those stories are fantastic and filling in those gaps for Vader. And we got to see some of that, which is great, but it's almost like I don't need to see him in Obi-Wan again until episode 4. Like, you gave me that moment. Like, they can't keep running into each other. It's impossible because the Empire is just going to keep growing and get stronger, and Obi-Wan's getting older to become that Alec Guinness Ben Kenobi.
I don't know. If I could see Batman fight the Joker 1,000 times,
but
and
this
like
is not
continuing...
this is not Batman. Like, this is completely different. So I know we're also like at the hype of, like, we just saw it. We just watched the one of the most amazing lightsaber / fights of all time in a Star Wars show. I loved it, and the lighting was perfect, right? It was like this dark, gloomy planet. It wasn't like Tatooine again. It wasn't.
Oh my god, dude!
And it was like this kind of rocky cave planet, but the entire planet looked like the inside of a cave.
When you brought up lighting, I just remembered the scene where they're talking, like when towards the end of the battle, and like you see the blue light on them showing, and then the red, like kind of dictates the flow of the conversation. Like there's the hope, and he still has hope, and then he turns red when he realizes that Anakin is dead. And there's a little play with the lights back and forth. It's so subtle, but it's so well done. I'm so glad you mentioned it, because I would have forgot about it until the end of this episode. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to talk about this here.
Yeah, that was great.
So many little things in this episode that they paid attention to for this back and forth. This is something obviously they've been planning for a long time, and you could tell like this whole series was the build up just for this battle, and I love it.
Yeah, it was magical to see that. And another part I forgot to mention, it also made me tear up. Sorry, guys, I'm a blubbering mess when it comes to this stuff. But Vader basically gives Obi-Wan permission to not be guilty.
Yeah.
Right? He has this line where he's like, you didn't make me this. I did this to me. Which was odd to me, because I was taken aback a little, like, oh my God, like, is this the first time Anakin has taken kind of responsibility or ownership for anything, right? And Obi-Wan's looking at this person for the last time, someone he loved as a brother, and saying, no, you're truly dead and gone, and just leaves him. And Obi-Wan still can't kill him. He could have killed him there, right? And
that would have I mean, retconned everything. Imagine he's like, I killed Vader. We're like, we gotta redo these new movies, I guess. Something else has to happen. I don't know what's happening here now.
So that obviously couldn't happen, but like, just that, I am 100% with you there. I think the Obi-Wan, Anakin, Vader stuff in this episode made the show for me a lot better than I initially came in going with it.
I agree with you 1000%. We have to talk about the secondary plot of this episode, and I guess of the whole show. The Reva thing.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Me too.
Absolutely terrible.
Me too.
And I'm like, this time that like we did with Reva, and she's chasing Luke. I was like, oh my God, why couldn't they stop with the Luke and Leia stuff? I still am firm now watching this whole thing. We should have ended Leia episode like 2 or 3 in. And then you can still have the scene at the end where Obi-Wan visits, the parents. They're like, oh my God, take care of them. If you ever need me, that's fine. Leaves. And then up Reva's character. I think the reason I hate it so much, it's because Reva was a character that could have been so much more and wasn't.
Yeah.
And they focus on like, oh, her attacking younglings. I was like, Reva was a savage, and now she just did this weird heel change, and now she's a good person, or kind of, and now she's giving up her lightsaber. I was like, all right, if you take in all this kind of time and evolve it with her and Obi-Wan doing more of a confrontation between the two of them, one master of like another master, they could have done this back and forth. I think would have been a much better plot. And then the beginning half of the episode could have been the end half of the episode of him fighting Vader after Reva dies because she tries to confront Vader or something like that. I think they wasted Reva's character. It's very unfortunate. I felt like this whole other subplot was so secondary to them. They were just like, it doesn't even matter because we're going to focus on this and that's all everybody's going to talk about. Because they're right. And like in a year or two, I'm not even going to care about Reva or this other stuff because I'm just going to be focused on this Obi-Wan and Vader stuff. But it's just a shame that Reva, they wasted this character, and I think she could have been really something cool.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Rob. I wonder 2 or 3 things about her. Number one is the obvious, right? Is it a character they're inventing now to put in other stuff down the line? Is it a marketing thing? Is it a something to grow this character of Reva that they want to put in a different show and kind of continue that story? And the other side is, like, you can't focus on Obi-Wan and Leia and Vader and Reva and everyone have this equal time in 6 episodes, right? It's just not possible to give that time. And it's either her story was bad and half-assed, or you focused on her and we got less of Obi-Wan, which is ridiculous. So I think the whole point of her stuff by the end of this show is really bad, considering we know Luke doesn't die, so he was never in real danger. There was no point of her surviving that wound again, which I still don't know how she survived. And the fact that she kind of just goes to Tatooine to be an annoyance took a lot away from the rest of the plot of this show, right? Because you have, every time you had the scenes with Vader and Obi-Wan fighting, they cut to Reva.
And I'm like, I don't care.
I'm like, I don't care. Go back. Like we don't need this back and forth. I know the attention span of 90% of the planet's horrible, but Jesus.
When Reva was on Tatooine in the first place and threatened Owen, he's like, I'll come back. His whole family's going to die. They could have had this scene where Reva attacked the family in the beginning of the show. And Obi-Wan goes there and stops it.
Yeah, but that's revealing Obi-Wan at the time where he's not revealed.
I guess, okay. Or then maybe it's like, all right, Owen like stops it or somebody dies or somehow. The other Jedi that's on the planet maybe pumped him up a little bit more before he dies. Like, oh, he goes and stops it. He dies and something like that.
I just don't know if there's a fix for it, man. I think one of the other issues is this, right? Star Wars has this thing where everything's a redemption, right? Not everything needs to be. Vader was the original redemption arc, right?
I agree.
It's Anakin to Vader. Luke saves him at the end. Redemption. The Kylo Ren thing never made sense to me. This doesn't make sense either. I think
she should have died when Vader should have killed her.
Yeah, like the only real like kind of true blood bad guys are like Palpatine, Darth Maul, and like Count Dooku. So like I'm fine with Reva just being an Inquisitor or struggling with that and dying trying to fulfill what she wanted, right? That revenge story ending and her kind of being like this tragic character, which in my opinion I'd feel more for if she died trying to fight Vader. Like she spent her whole life trying to get close to this guy and just failed and couldn't get it done. Like that's heartbreaking.
If the way she died fighting Vader was like, all right, you want to do a heel turn? Okay, you decided to help Obi-Wan fight Vader to allow the people to escape and on that planet change her mentality a little bit, and then she dies there. You're like, oh my God, Reva, thank God.
I guess, yeah. Or I mean, like, I also don't want to take away from just Vader versus Obi-Wan.
No, I'm talking about like when she died on that planet.
Oh, like yeah, when she died like originally, yeah.
And if they had a little bit more time beforehand of them, like, all right, we could do this together, and then she's playing, and she's like, we don't have time. Like the stormtroopers are coming in, like I'm pretending I'm fighting you, like I'm gonna hold off as long as I can. It tries to betray Vader, does the same thing. Vader stabs, and she dies there. And then we sail off. We're like, oh my God, thank you, Reva, for saving Obi-Wan and Leia and all this kind of stuff.
Meaning cool. Like if she was part of the plot to help them escape, not just after they left and then it happened. Because like we did get, the whole like, hey, I'm bringing him to you scenario, right? Where she's like, oh, okay. But yeah, I agree. If that was part of the plot where she helped them escape and then either, gravely injured dies, we don't see her again, whatever the hell. That is a lot better than what I think they gave us, because there was no point of her in this entire episode, right? There was absolutely no point of her. And I just think personally, that's where it takes away from the show. But I will say, I did like the Uncle Owen side of this.
Sure. I like
showing Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru how much they actually care for Luke. Because in the original movies, right, they die in the first 20 minutes. And you don't really get the sense of how much Luke means to them or how much they are actually a family. And that I thought was really nice to see, where it's like, no, where Reva's like, hey, you really care about him. And he's like, yeah, he's my boy. Like, of course I do. And you actually see how much Owen cares. And he's not just being a jerk to Obi-Wan. He's not just being like anti-Jedi. He's just very protective of really his son. And it might also explain Uncle Owen's limp from episode 4 because he gets his knee bad. So that might have been a little Easter egg there too. So I did like that side.
Let me ask you a question. We've been talking
sir.
about this whole series about Force Ghosts. We finally get it here. Qui-Gon Jinn.
I cried again.
For me, I was like, cool. I was just like, all right, cool. We got that. I was like, I would have rather had that earlier on or something like that.
I think it was perfect.
But I also see the point of like, oh, now you've accepted yourself fully and you understand and you accept your past and you're moving forward and now you can see the ghost. I get that. But to me, I was fine with it. It didn't do anything for me, but I definitely want to hear your perspective because I know you're going to have a lot more of an emotional tie to it.
To see him come back again, especially at this end point, is to me something that is purely Star Wars, where the story ends regardless of the medium, right? The video games, the movies, the TV shows. But there's so much more to explore. There's so much there's so much thought-provoking content. There's so many stories to tell, whether it's a novel, whether it's this or that. And that's the other side of Obi-Wan that I've always wanted to know about. How he got to be able to be a Force ghost himself. How that, trip went. Did he have to fight something in himself? Did he have to go on a quest? And that end scene where he's riding off and he sees Qui-Gon finally after calling out to him the whole show. And he's like, I was waiting for you this whole time, kind of like to realize that you could still be you, right?
Yeah.
That Obi-Wan can still be Obi-Wan, that super powerful Jedi with the, the stance and the earth bending and just insane, and also be in hiding, but continue to train, continue to learn about yourself. That's that Star Wars like feeling I was waiting for in the show. That obviously we got with the fight too, but like that overall, that like, oh my God, what happens next, right? He's going off. He's not staying, right? We saw him kind of close up shop in his house.
True.
And we know by the time episode 4 happens, he has more of like this hut, not in a cave. So that was all things that I was very interested in. And to see that kind of happen and, see him like on this like ghost road trip with Qui-Gon.
Like maybe a Vision Quest or something.
Exactly. And there's so much of that in Star Wars, especially in the books and the expanded stuff. So like that was just a beautiful moment to me for a character that, I may just know a little more about than a lot of regular fans.
Guys, it's safe to say that we love this finale of Obi-Wan. We want to hear your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. What did you think of the episode? What did you think of that Vader Obi-Wan fight? Do you think we're going to get more information and more shows from this time period? Let us know down below.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, it really helps the channel out a lot. If you are new, subscribe and turn on notifications. You don't miss any more of our Star Wars stuff. We're going to cover it right here on the channel. And if you miss anything, make sure you check it out. It's right here as always. And I am Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.